What is up, everybody? What's up? Happy 4th of July. It's Friday, July 4th, and I'm super fired up to be here with you. I gotta pause this. Oh, man. Anyway, I got something playing in the background. Hopefully, you can't hear it, but it's all good. It's something I'm saving for today anyway. And there we go. And I know you're gonna really enjoy today's episode, y'all, because we're gonna be talking about some really solid things that are gonna be able to help you. This thing is really annoying. Can y'all hear that in the background or no? Maybe you can. No, it's okay. Either way, we're locked in now. BizBuzz Live. Things throw me off all the time, right? I don't know if you guys are that way, but things start to throw me off if they're not exactly the way I need it. But anyway, today, BizBuzz Live, it's going to be a good one. We're going to talk about some things in the employee world that are happening on this 4th of July when we're thinking about freedom and being free. We're going to talk about what are some of the hindrances to being free. Let's talk about it. All right, y'all. All right. What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of BizBuzz Live. I'm your host, Chris Muzan, talking all things finance with you. I'm here on another Friday, which happens to be July 4th. Hope everybody is having a great day thus far. Hope you have great plans today to celebrate our nation's freedom and your freedom, getting around loved ones and eating hot dogs and hamburgers and whatever people do for their Americana fun. I hope you get a chance to do all of that today. But I could not resist coming back to you on this Friday, as always, with our BizBuzz Live episode here on LinkedIn and YouTube. Feel free to follow me on any other platform because we're posting content all over the place. But specifically, the reason we started this show, the reason we started this is because as a financial professional, sitting down with people over a decade long, working with people in their finances, whether they come to me for insurance or whether they come to me for getting out of debt or saving money, at the end of the day, it always kind of comes back to their cash flow. The conversations always lead back to how much am I making? How is money coming into my life? How is money flowing out of my life? Do I have a handle on those things? And in the financial space, I think we do a really good job. Personally, I think we do a really good job of talking about budgeting and lowering our expenses and paying attention to where all the money is going. I think we do a pretty good job of that as a financial community. What I don't think we do a good job of, in all honesty, is giving people the ideas of how to go make more money. I don't think we do a really good job with that. I don't think we give the ideas of what we need to go off and do in order to really take ownership and grow the number one what do I call it? What word am I looking for? I don't know, the thing that has the most impact on your financial life, right? The biggest variable, the thing that controls basically all the rest of your financial life is just actually how you make money, how money comes into your life, not necessarily about where you spend it or where you invest it. I think we go too far down that path oftentimes, and no one really starts to talk about how do we earn money? How do we earn money? I talked about this last week on BizBuzz. I said, hey, we got to learn to earn. We got to learn how to earn. We got to learn how to go out and make money. And if the same things that we've been trying or the same things we've been taught or the same things we see happening are the things that have us in the financial position we're in right now, and it's not working for us, then maybe we need to think of that part. Maybe we need to think of, how do I make more? How do I gain a new skill set? How do I learn something new? How do I make myself more valuable? What industries are making money now? Where is it that I need to position myself and my talents and my skills so that I can now earn more money. And through earning, yes, I can learn how to budget better. I can learn how to keep more of what's coming in. I can learn how to save more. I can pay off debt faster. I can invest more money. I can put money into my children's college education fund. I can put more into my HSA. I can do more for my home. I can do more for the people around me. Like all of it comes from how the money comes in. And so those become the conversations that I always want us to have on BizBuzz. And for you to drop any of your questions or drop your comments down below as you watch this, whether you're watching this live or whether you see this on a replay, right? Drop some comments, drop some of your insight, drop some of your insight in here so that other people can learn from it. Other people can learn from it. Okay. But today, what I wanted to dive into, outside of all the things that we've been talking about, outside of all of the things we've been talking about over the past couple months, which have been, what skill sets you're going to need to stay employable, basically, right? What skill sets you're going to need to stay employable. We've been talking about those over the past couple months. I've been giving you little things here and there of, the World Economic Forum talking about how these soft skills, we're going to need things like, I don't even remember. No, we're going to need these soft skills like empathy, like lifelong learning, curiosity, like um, critical thinking, all these things, right? We've laid these out over the past like 2 months, 3 months of this show. But I also want to dive into today, is this even the place you should be? Now, you guys know I believe a lot in the entrepreneurial mindset. I believe that you can own parts of your life. And that's what entrepreneurial mindset is that you take ownership of it and you can relearn some things to go out and be able to serve your community, serve the world, help more people, and then be able to make money from it. Now is probably that time. If I can encourage you today on July 4th, as we're looking at our freedom, if you want to get free, if you want to be able to control life and live life the way that you want to, you have to be able to control your income. Not a bad thing to work for someone until they control your income. Some things I'm going to share with you just so you know what's happening in the job market. Some of you may be feeling this already. Some of you may not be feeling it, right? I'm not sure, but just know a couple of things that are happening. Number one, Microsoft is laying off 9,000 more employees. 9,000 more employees. It's what it says in this article here. Again, when we dealt with this in Q1 of the year, in the first quarter of this year, you go back, you watch some of those BizBuzz episodes, you're going to see we've been talking about major layoffs. And it quieted, right? We quieted down a little bit in the second quarter of the year, but it didn't go away. It didn't go away. People are still laying off. Big companies, major companies are still laying off people. So if major companies are laying off people, like the government was laying off people, all the things, right? Remember when we were talking about how, right, Doge and the government and, how they're eliminating jobs and all the things. And now we saw it in the private sector. And just yesterday, Microsoft announced that it's laying off about 9,000 employees. About 9,000 employees. And they've already started. It said the tech giant has already carried out several rounds of layoffs this year. The biggest in May affected 6,000. And the cut will impact less than 4% of the company's total workforce. But man, 9,000 people will be impacted. 9,000 people will be impacted. This is something that's happening all across the country. It's probably happening in other countries, but this impacts you again if you have a job, if you are in an industry where you may feel like it's stable now, but you're not sure if it will always be stable. You're not sure if you work for the big tech company, the big giant company, that all of a sudden you're not going to have a job. What would happen if you all of a sudden didn't have a job? Somebody laid you off. They're doing downsizing. I was just playing golf with a someone we're getting to know, a friend of a neighbor's. We were just having this conversation. He just got laid off a month ago. Bigger company came in, started doing some downsizing. They had a choice between like him and another manager, and they let him go. Right? This guy is in his 50s. He's not a young spring chicken. He's not, right? He's not on the first leg of his career. He's now on the back end. He might be in his 60s. He looks really good though. I think he's either in his 50s or his 60s, right? But he's probably in his 50s. But he got laid off just like that. Plant manager, right? Been around, doing the thing, really good at what he does. And now, just like that, it's happening over and over again. So again, what is protecting you from that happening for you, from you getting laid off at your job? Now may not be the time to just put all of our hope and faith and trust in our employer. I would recommend you put that hope and faith and trust in God and in yourself, right? And then go to work doing what's needed in order to get yourself and your family to the place you need to go. Here's the other thing that's also happening, just in case you didn't know: AI, automation, robots, technology taking over. Amazon now uses over 1 million robots. That's the headline. It says Amazon warehouses will soon have as many robots as humans. I don't know if you guys picked that up. Soon, in the near future, y'all, Amazon will have as many robots as it does actual people working for them. So remember all those like entry-level jobs of just doing like random little things that doesn't take any cognitive ability. There's no critical thinking. There's no analytical thinking. There's no creative thinking. There's none of those things that are needed. It's just your body and labor. You just move from one place to another, pick up box, do this. They're going to have robots that do that. And it's going to eliminate the need for people. Now, I know there's a bunch of people out on this debate, right? There's a bunch of people out on this side like, oh, robots are bad and right, all the stuff. But just understand, we just lived through 10 years, if not a little bit longer, of technological advances. We just lived through a long time of technological advances. And what was that technology there to do? It was there to make us more efficient. And now we're a decade into this, and now companies are becoming more efficient. It's just the way it goes. So this may not be the time. This may not be the time to put your hope and trust in a job. Big companies are not, necessarily going to need as many people as they once had. So that puts you and your cash flow in jeopardy. If you don't take these things seriously, if you think it's just the same old thing, 2025, oh, I can go and get another job, or, I'm depending on this job to do it. Like, it's likely that that's not going to be the case. It's likely that that's not going to be the case, y'all. And so this is why we got to make sure that like we're putting ourselves in a position. We're putting ourselves in a position to make sure that we are doing everything that we need to do in order to get above this stuff. That's why I bring this to you. I bring this information to you, not to tell you you're doing a bad job by having a job or being an employee. Like, it's neither here nor there. But for those of you that want to improve your cash flow, because again, that's what the premise of this is. It's not just my opinion on these things. This is if you would like to improve your cash flow. You talk to me. If you take me to the person that is secure in their career and they're growing and they're making more money every year, and every other year they're making more money and things are just doing well for them. They probably have a little bit of angst and anxiety in the back of their mind because they know it could all be taken away. They know their company could go out of business. They know they have to, the higher up they climb, the more there's a target on their back. They think about these types of things. So the way that we get away from that is ownership. Because having a job right now might not be the smartest thing to secure your financial life. Here's the last thing I'm going to share with you. Something I was listening to over here on TikTok. Take a listen. Maybe this is what was playing before that I was so. Wait, let's go now.
How many people
There
in
we
my
go.
comment sections are underestimating how cooked the corporate job market is? I've been in recruiting for coming up to a decade in July, and I've literally never seen candidates struggle as much as they are right now on the job market. And these are not poor candidates. These are not people who are unqualified. These are some of the most qualified people I've ever seen on the job market, and they are struggling. I'm hearing about people who are applying to thousands of jobs and not hearing anything back from any company. I'm hearing about longer and longer rounds of interviews, like 6, 7, 8, or 9 rounds of interviews. And some people go through that and then they get ghosted. I'm hearing about assessments, like personality assessments, take home work, which a lot of times is unpaid. And I'm hearing about this over and over. And then when it comes to the offer stage, I am seeing people get intentionally lowballed. Like they ask for 85K and the company comes back with 65K. And I know what the company is thinking. They're thinking if this person doesn't accept, somebody else is desperate enough to accept, and we can get a deal. We can literally get somebody really talented for cheap. Welcome to the 2025 job market. I am still.
Did y'all hear that? Welcome to the 2025 job market. Corporate America. Lowballing people. That sounds familiar, right? People getting lowballed. Why? Because they know you're desperate. Because they know that there's people out there that are like, man, I'll accept anything. Well qualified. I'll accept anything. So they can offer you less. Everything, y'all, is about supply and demand. I don't think you guys get, maybe some of you get it. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Everything's about supply and demand. Right now, there is a supply and demand issue when it comes to the work world. Employers are trying to downsize. They need less people. And there's more supply of people. I hope y'all understand that. Like there's more supply of people, like more people need a job and need to work. There's more of them out there. And companies need less people. So that means that the supply and demand is off. So who holds the power? The job, the employer holds the power. That's why they can offer you less money. That's why they can work you to the bone. That's why they can lay you off. That's why they can change all these things. They can do all these things because they know someone else is going to need it. There's hundreds or thousands of candidates lined up that will take your position if you don't do what they need you to do. They know that. They have the leverage. This is the time to take back your control. This is your time to take back your power and to shift the leverage so that people start to say, I actually don't need that job. See, when the leverage shifts, when the supply and demand shifts, and then jobs are struggling to find people to work, they have to pay you more. They have to make it more. They have to incentivize it more. They have to do more of those things, just like the housing market. You guys all saw that in the housing market where there was such a low supply, but there was a high demand for houses that people were paying 20, 30, 50, $100,000 over asking price because there was a low supply. So they were flying. Now it cools down and there's a bunch of inventory on the market and people are choosing to wait and be like, yeah, I'm not going to pay that. So what's it going to do? It's going to force people to lower their prices. And so that the buyer gets the leverage. That's what's happening in the employee world. So we're looking at people getting laid off. 9,000 people from Microsoft. We're looking at companies like an Amazon saying that they're going to have the same amount of robot workers as they have human workers. We're listening to recruiters say how cooked this market is. how unstable it is to find a job and what's happening out here. We're listening to all these things. And yet, for some of you specifically here on LinkedIn, you're still thinking about it the exact same way. Despite me saying this, despite what you're seeing, despite you seeing people get laid off, despite all the stuff that's happened over the first 6 months of this year, despite all that, you're still thinking about, well, what's the next job I can get? And this job and that job. And all you're doing is thinking about the employee. Well, maybe it's time to take ownership and say, I need to get some skill sets that allow me to not have a job. It's actually never been simpler. It's never been a simpler time to start a business around something that you're passionate about. And I don't use that word often because, again, I don't think that's always smart in business. It's very like low level kind of business starting is like do what you're passionate about. But there is a piece to doing something that you're already doing a lot of, talking about something you already talk about a lot of, right? Like kind of giving this part of you that you already are doing. If you started doing that more, there could be opportunities that come from it if you learn some skill sets. Let me just add that caveat in there because it's not as simple as, well, I like the Ninja Turtles, so I'm just going to say Ninja Turtles. No, you need some concepts around sales and marketing and right, like how do you get attention, and probably should learn some social media platforms, and maybe you need to learn how to collaborate or communicate better, or maybe you do need to find a product, or there's a bunch of things in there, but none of these things should deter you from getting started because it's never been an easier time to get started. We have something we used to say, right, called Google, where you can Google things. Now we're going to start saying you have Chat GPT, you have other AI that can literally, you ask it a question, it give you exactly what to do, and then it's on you to go execute it. You no longer need the thought, the IQ to do something. It'll literally lay it out step by step. Then it's just how lazy are you or how ambitious are you to go do what this is telling you to do to be successful. There's never been a simpler time to do it. But if we keep thinking about jobs and cash flow in the same way, the go to school, get good grades, get a good job, work at the job, stay at the job, that if we keep thinking about it that way, it's likely we don't get different results. And life, until that supply and demand changes around employment, until that changes, it's not going to be a good time to be an employee. We've watched it over the past 6 months. We've watched all types of companies lay people off. We looked at all types of, private sector, public sector downsizing. We've looked at this major shift in technology with AI and robots and all the stuff. The work from home is changing. Like all these things are changing. Yet you still think about it the same way. So I'm going to encourage you on this Freedom Friday that we start thinking about our employment differently. We start thinking about our income differently. There's not a lot of job growth. There's not going to be a lot of opportunities because there's so many people out there that are looking for them that there's not going to be a lot of opportunities for us. So you got to go create your own opportunities. You got to go create what you need, to bring in income to change your cash flow. These are things I can help with. These are things we can have a conversation about. It's hard when I'm talking to all of LinkedIn and all of YouTube to figure out, okay, what specifically you can do. I don't know your skills. I don't know your talents. I don't know your thoughts. I don't know your network. I don't know your financial situation. I don't know anything about you. So I can't just tell you, here's the best business to go start. I have no idea. But I promise you, if you take ownership of your life, we can figure it out. We can figure out what your talents and your skills are. We can figure out exactly where you should be and what you should be doing to take ownership and bring in some more to raise your cash flow so you're not dependent on the job. So you're not having to worry about getting laid off, getting replaced by AI or a robot, having to go back into the job market, having to go settle for something that's below what you believe you could do, right? Instead of doing all of those things, let's just learn how to earn. It's likely you just don't know how to. It's okay. Now we got to go learn how to do it. That's what I'm here to do. Let's reconvene next Friday. Let's reconvene next Friday and let's talk a little bit more about how to learn how to earn. What are some ideas? Actually, next Friday, I may not be here. I may not. Huh. I'm out of town, but I might have some time Friday. We'll see what I can do. We'll see. Maybe I'm here. If I'm not, I'll give you a good post. I'll give you a good post, LinkedIn, of exactly some of these thoughts and recapping some of these things that we're talking about. But most importantly, y'all, I want to make sure that all of you know you have the ability to go out and change your cash flow in any way you need to. But it's going to come with you learning new things, learning how to earn, taking on new responsibilities, learning new ways of communication, new ways of marketing, getting new opportunities, thinking about things differently in order to get a different result. But that's what we're going to do. Stay locked in, y'all. Happy 4th of July. Enjoy this time with friends, family, but also keep in mind, if you want to fix your financial life, one of the first things we got to pay attention to is how we are earning money. And so let's go out and think of some ways to do that. I'll be back here next Friday, maybe. If not, the following Friday, we'll dive back in. Until next time, y'all.